Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I am in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's my first time here, and let me tell you, it's been a lot of fun. I'm at the Microcap conference specifically, and we covered this conference for the last couple of years remotely, and this is the first time I'm here in person. And let me tell you, the energy in this place, the amount of companies, the crowd, the networking, the party last night, I mean, next level. And I was able to snag one of the speakers who he's actually going to be speaking tomorrow, Marc. So, Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Marc. So I'll tell you, this is my first time, as you just heard, in person at one of these Microcap conferences. Have you been to this conference in the past, or is this your...
I have not been to the Microcap conference. This is my first time
Another
here.
newbie. So what your impression? First impression?
Oh, I agree with you. There's great energy here. There's a lot of companies. There's a lot of investors.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are in the industry and in the community who have come here to, promote their companies, promote their ideas and their products. And I think it's great. I think it's the right time for a lot of people to be here. I understand this from folks who were here last year.
Yeah.
They said that the crowd growth is pretty impressive from year over year. And so I think that's a good sign.
It's like a community, right? Like, I feel it's almost like a community of people that are like...
it really is.
It's hard to say that, but it is.
No, I consider it a community.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this for, close to 30 years now. And I know a lot of the folks in this room from prior transactions. I've represented some of them. I still represent some of them. And... I've worked with many of them across all the different platforms. And so it's good to see a lot of new faces and familiar faces. And it's good to hear people talking about the industry and the space. The microcap community and the microcap business is a huge driver of, the economy. There's a large number of companies that, they're smaller in size, but they provide jobs and technology growth and really valuable industry pieces. So it's great to see. It's great to see. I was at a similar conference a few months back, which was more focused on pipes. It was the Pipes conference. Also,
I was at Pipes, man. That was awesome, man.
Yeah.
The Hard Rock Cafe and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. It took me a couple of tries to get that one. I remember when I was doing it.
That's right. The Hard Rock. It was. That was a great event as well, and I think you're starting to see a big comeback in the community in terms of number of transactions that are happening, types of companies that are going in, seeing a lot of quality companies with a lot of really great ideas, great products, great management teams.
Yeah. So I know the panel hasn't happened yet, or the speaking out tomorrow that you're going to do, but can you maybe say high level what are some of the ideas that you're going to be talking about?
Sure. So our panel is going to be focused on methodologies for capital formation and the regulatory and exchange requirements. My panel is going to have representatives from the New York Stock Exchange, from OTC markets, from the Canadian Securities Exchange, and we're going to talk about what are the barriers to capital formation for companies that are in the microcap space, which are depending on how you define it, anywhere from $1 billion market cap and under. Some people have it at $250 million and under. We've heard some people talk about companies that are in the tens of millions in terms of market cap. So smaller public companies that don't get the type of media coverage that you normally see with the large cap, big, FANG type companies. So we'll be focused on various paths for companies to go public and mostly to access capital once in the public markets or through the public markets. And we'll be talking about a lot of the hurdles that face the industry that are unique to the microcap community. In certain ways, microcap community has been singled out by the regulators and treated as almost a different class of company than a small cap, a mid cap, a large cap. And, we'll be talking about how that different classification, I'm sure we'll be talking about whether or not that's appropriate.
Of course.
Whereas, but we'll also be talking about, well, how do you navigate that? There is sort of what is and what should be, and we'll talk about both of those.
Yeah. Talk about, speaking of what is and what should be. We had a lot of speculation around this. Nobody knows. And by the way, for everybody watching this at home, we're recording this in January, almost February 2025. I like to always put that timestamp just in case. But new administration, new things, possibly lightening up, maybe not in this space. Like, any comments on that in general?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think we talk about pendulum swings when it comes to the political arena, and cultural swings back and forth. And I think generally speaking, people view the election and the new Trump administration as a swing to the right that, in recent days have been pretty drastic. There's been a lot of headlines since the inauguration on a daily basis, a lot of the events that have occurred. Yesterday, the day before, they froze all the federal funding, which caused a panic. And so you're seeing sort of a drastic, aggressive maneuvering by this administration very, very early on. With respect to capital markets, I think we're going to see something similar. The outgoing commissioner, Gary Gensler, the pendulum is typically between investor protection on one side and capital formation on the other. Whereas when you're very investor protection, you're putting up more and more barriers to capital formation under the auspices that you're protecting investors from harm or fraud. And I think there's a fundamental debate about how true that is. But putting that aside, the reality is that during the Gensler administration, they proposed a large number of regulations and proposed rules, many of which were adopted, that really did make it more difficult to access capital in the microcap space. I think you're going to see a very big shift away from that. The existing commissioners that have been on the commission, that will stay on, have been outspoken in their opposition to Gensler's mission. And the incoming nominee, Paul Atkins, is a former commissioner from the George W. Bush era and under Chairman Cox. And he is generally known to be much more capital friendly. So I think, and there's a uniqueness in some of the turnover that's occurred, that the commission is going to be, instead of normally 5 people, it looks like it's going to be 3 people, and they're all going to be Republican appointees. So they're going to have a period, a window, where they completely control what's going on at the SEC, which of course is the main regulator of capital markets and securities exchanges. So I do think you'll see a big fundamental shift. What that means in terms of specifics, we don't know yet. Mr. Atkins has not yet been confirmed. It's going to be a few weeks before he gets his turn at the table, given all of the new appointments that are coming in. So, but we do, I think most people in the room and in the industry feel that there is going to be an opportunity to provide better guidance for the microcap community in terms of what is and what isn't appropriate, in terms of how you can raise capital and how you can go public, and what requirements you need to meet in order to do that.
Can you talk a little bit about just your work in general and what you do at your firm?
Sure. So I am the co-chair of the corporate department at Glaser Weil, which is a full-service law firm based in Los Angeles. We have offices throughout California. And our practice focuses on fundamental corporate transactional work, capital markets, mergers and acquisitions, and fund formation. Those are the primary areas. So we represent issuers, companies looking to raise capital. We represent investors. We represent brokerage firms. And we provide them with what we think is a very high level of sophisticated legal advice and representation.
Earlier in this conversation, you mentioned we talked about this conference in the community. You've been around, in this industry 30 plus years, I believe you said. Talk about the community concept. Now, you are president of an organization, the Small Public Company Coalition. Talk to me about that organization.
Sure. So, the Small Public Company Coalition is a registered 501c6 trade organization that advocates with the government for change, for ideas of capital formation in the small public company community. We're an advocate for the community itself, which includes addressing rules that are proposed by the SEC and providing our feedback as an organization on behalf of the community as to whether we agree or disagree or propose changes that we would make to the proposed rule. We file what they call amicus briefs or amicus briefs in court cases involving federal securities laws relating to issues that affect the microcap community and the small public company community. There's been a chain of enforcement actions that we followed very closely and have advocated against and filed briefs in support of the industry and actually argued before the courts in that regard. We lobby. So we developed relationships with lobby groups and had conversations and meetings and proposals with members of the Financial Services Committee, House Financial Services Committee, the Senate Banking Committee, a number of representatives and senators, and also with some of the commissioners directly.
Yeah. Who's a good fit to be a part of the community there? Like, is it a small public company? Yes, but like, what do you find is normally the right type of member? So, or if you call them members, do they call members? Or
we
okay, I just want to make sure I'm using the right term.
That's right. So we have members who are membership. Our membership kind of falls into four categories. Issuers themselves, companies, small public companies. We believe that we are representative of their needs that are specific to the small public company community, relating to characterizations as penny stocks or microcap companies, and what that means in terms of being able to raise capital at the different market levels, whether they're New York Stock Exchange companies or NASDAQ companies or OTC companies. So that's one category, are the issuers. Another category are the investors. High net worth individuals, family offices, hedge funds or private investment funds, who also face their specific set of challenges and ironically are treated differently than other investors in the space as compared to the broader markets. The microcap community has specific issues that materially impact the capital formation process. So we try to advocate to have fair, clear guidelines for investing and how you can set up your investment portfolio, you set up your investment fund, what types of transactions, how they're structured.
Yeah. So that's two. You said four. Got two more.
Two more. The third are the bankers, the broker-dealers, and the bankers who are putting these deals together. They're obviously hugely important to the community. They make the community run. And so, they're another constituent. And then the fourth one are what I would call the service providers. That includes the lawyers, the accountants, the transfer agents, the consulting groups, everybody who works in this space, right? Our organization its mission is to help the community as a whole advance, really capital formation while still maintaining integrity and investor protection. Where we find challenge and where we find we have to advocate most is whether something the government or the regulators or the exchanges, whether what they're doing actually provides any level of real investor protection, or are they just making it harder for small business to raise capital and to run their business.
Mark, I got to say, man, this has been great having you on the show today. Last thing I want you to do, look into the camera. If people want to follow up, learn more about your firm or about the Small Public Company Coalition, how do people follow up? How do they learn more?
So for our firm, we are at glaserweil.com, and we have a LinkedIn presence and XFeed and all of that. But it's www.glaserweil.com, and you can find out about us and our history and some of the amazing things that we've done as a firm over the last, I think it's now 35 years or so.
Yeah.
And then for the Small Public Company Coalition, it's at thespcc, thespcc.com. And you can always reach out to me at marc@thespcc.com. That's MARC. And or Indeglia@glaserweil.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. We give you as much information. We'd be happy to talk to you. We'd love to have a conversation.
Awesome. And for everybody watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put the links in the show notes so you can just click on the link and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, new interviews, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Marc, man, appreciate you making some time for us.
Thank you so much for having me. Great.